I wanted to do something a little different that I don't think I do enough. And I want to just kind of take a minute to reflect on this year. I think as just a human being in general, you should every now and then pause for a second, take some deep breaths, and think back about like what's happened in your life, good and bad. This year, some kind of crazy stuff happened. I was nominated for a Latin Grammy, or I played on a project that was nominated for a Latin Grammy, which we'll get into. I worked on a project that's finally out now with Benny Greb for his newest kind of project, educational project he's put out. And Benny is, since as long as I can remember, Benny is one of my all-time heroes. One of the songs that I recorded on ended up in a music video, and it's like my favorite music video that has ever included my drumming. And I also played one of my favorite shows ever, maybe my favorite show ever this year with Cody Fry. It was at my actual alma mater. It was at Belmont University at their beautiful new theater. It was for a sold-out crowd, 1,800 people singing along to everything. It was with a full band and a full orchestra. There were like almost 100 people on stage. It was just an amazing year. And I listened to this podcast, You Made It Weird, with Pete Holmes, and he always talks about how when we hear something negative, that instantly sinks into us and we instantly kind of internalize that. But when someone says something positive to us, we have to repeat it or sit with it for like 15 seconds before it really sinks in. All that to say, so with this Latin Grammy, the song is now, it's got over 1 million streams. I played on it just like I played on any other project. I, put my hard work into it, did as best I could with what the producer needed and the artist needed. And then, I landed on a plane and turned my phone on, and the producer that had hired me for it, Sean, he said, "Hey, man, by the way, we got to catch up and do a meeting about this thing, blah, blah, blah. And also, you're nominated for a Latin Grammy." And it was just kind of one of these things that when it happened, I was like, man, that's incredible. And I was so excited. But then the more I kind of sat with it, the more I was like, well, does it really matter? I don't know if we'll win it. And, I'm not the artist that was nominated for it. I just played on it. And like all these things happened that were like, I don't want to ever brag about having a Latin or being nominated for a Latin Grammy or whatever. And, it just, the moment of being proud of myself or happy for myself really quickly was like overshadowed with just kind of negative, doubtful thoughts about kind of what it meant or what it would do going forward or whatever. But when I listened to the song, it's just so amazing to me that like you can hear me on it. Like the drums sound awesome. In the programming, a lot of the percussion and electronic programming you hear is me. And I just think that when I listen to that song, I think like, oh, I did that. It's not just any drummer. And sure, there are a lot of people that could do just as good a job or better than me on that song. But when I hear it, I can tell it's me. There have been certain songs I play on that when they get released, I listen and I go, yeah, I'm pretty sure I recorded on that one. But this one, I know that I did. And that feels really good. And on top of that, I recorded it here in this studio, like right over there. See those drums? So it just feels really cool because a lot of the stuff that I've played on is, that does a bunch of streams or whatever. Sometimes that's been recorded at other people's places, other studios. And for a Latin Grammy nomination to have been recorded here, like really means a lot. The second thing is working on that project with Benny Greb. The project's called Unboxing Benny. I've worked with Benny on a couple different projects. The first was the VF Jams several years ago. And ever since then, we kind of stayed in touch, and he would kind of hit me up for this little idea he had for a project here and there. And this is kind of the first one that was at this scale. And he sent me the drums only versions of these songs and said, you can't share these with anyone. And I haven't, but he was like, you can't share these with anyone. They're top secret. Like it was just to be included and trusted with a project like that after listening to Benny since I was probably 12. We're going on 20 years of me. I idolizing this person as a musician and as an educator, idolizing in like he's at the top of the thing. Every educational thing he puts out, it's incredibly artistic. It's somehow super educational and also looks cool and is funny and is enjoyable to watch. And he's just someone that if someone says, "Hey, you want to put out an educational thing, like who would you want to model it after?" I would go Benny. Like Benny Greb and Todd Zuckerman's first DVD. Like those are the two people I think that when I think about educational drum resources, I'm like, yeah, it's pretty much as good as you can do it. So to be included in one of those projects was just so huge. And for him to trust me with notating note for note, sticking for sticking, every little thing that were in the performances, I don't know. It's just still weird for me to think about it. And I just, I now have a clip of him in his course while he's introducing kind of the layout of the course, talking about like me being the transcription master.
And third, you have very accurate note-for-note transcriptions that the transcription master Tim Buell did, and I checked them, and they are amazing.
That's just something that, Aaron Sterling has said with the projects I've done with Aaron Sterling. And I don't know, it feels surreal because these are all people that, I'm just thankful to be in the room with sometimes. And now to not only be in the room with them, but to be a peer with them, it just kind of seems weird. And I'm super thankful for it. The one little bit I'll say on transcription is I wasn't good at transcribing and I wasn't good at drum recording. I didn't start recording drums at home until like 5 years ago, and I didn't start transcribing until halfway through college. So all that to say, whatever the thing is that you're like, oh, I could never do that for a living, or I could never do that and be in a band, or I could never play drums. I could never start drums now and do anything with it. It's just not true. Recording, I've been playing drums since I was 10, and I've been doing it a lot since I was 10. But the recording side of it, it's this whole other unrelated thing. But I was able to learn those skills really quickly because of how I've approached the rest of my life, how I've learned how to learn and things like that. And it's the same with transcribing. When I started transcribing, I was terrible at it. It would take me seriously 4 hours to get one measure of music. And then usually that measure wouldn't be totally correct. So you can learn skills if you're willing to kind of put in the work. And again, I was always really fortunate to have support. Like when I was going through college, I didn't have to work an additional job. That's a huge privilege that gave me a leg up on a lot of people. But what I'm saying is, if you prioritize what you want and really focus on it and reach out to people that know more than you and be willing to learn and be willing to start. When I started transcribing, I'd been playing drums for a long time and I was good at drums. I was halfway through college getting a music degree and I couldn't really super read music. And it felt like I was starting all over again at this thing that I should be better at. But I just kind of eventually said, okay, fuck it. I'm not good at it. If I'm going to get good at it, I just have to accept that I'm not good at reading music or transcribing, even though I can play drums. And I just kind of have to accept that and move on and start getting better at it. So, all right, enough about that. One of the songs I played on was a part of my favorite music video ever. It's this artist, Alin. This producer, Derek, reached out to me over Instagram and said, hey, a couple people recommended that you play drums on this track for me. I need a drummer. Can you play drums on it? He sent it to me and I was blown away by this cool song, and I recorded on it and I was really happy with, the stuff they wanted and the stuff I provided. And I was just really pumped about it. And then when the song came out, I was like, man, it sounds so cool. And then when I saw the music video for it, I was blown away. It's like this female John Wick-esque thing that happens over 4.5 or 5 minutes. And it was just such a cool thing to have the song not only sound cool and it be this cool, I connected with someone all the way across the world to make the song and whatever, but to have the music video be so beautiful and artistic was just such a cool thing. So yeah, if you haven't checked that out, that's got 1 million streams and 2 million views, and it's my drumming that's being recorded, and this little room up here is now being heard by millions and millions of people, and it feels really, really rewarding to be able to provide that for someone's music. Kind of the last little point I want to hit on of something I want to remember forever is I played my favorite show ever. It was this artist, Cody Fry. I went to college with him. He's amazing. He's had an incredible year and a half on TikTok. His like songs have blown up there. And, you know, since I've known him in college, he was always an incredible songwriter, an incredible arranger, an incredible artist. But kind of to see what he's been able to do over the last couple of years and expand kind of his vision and target that he was aiming for has been really cool. And you know, I got to play in a band with Corey Wong, played guitar, Kevin played bass, Steve Gould played drums, I played percussion, Cody was there, this guy Ben Rector sat in, Jeff Coffin played saxophone on it, and then there was a whole orchestra. Two of my best friends, Mel and Bobby, played in the orchestra. It was this whole orchestra. It was like 80 people or 85 people on stage, and it was just the most magical thing ever. And all of us kept saying it over and over again. It's like sometimes like the money is right on a gig, but the people are kind of weird, or the music isn't great, or it's so rare on a gig to have every single thing work. And the venue was amazing. It's this brand new state-of-the-art theater that Belmont has built. It was totally sold out, 1,800 people there, losing their minds, ton of energy. It was an amazing band. It was amazing music. It like just every single thing that could be right about it was correct about it. And it was just such an amazing moment. And I remember tearing up on stage because there was this moment where Cody had the audience sing this chord. I took a clip of it, and it's the only clip I took the whole time because I'm not typically a person that lives on their phone and tries to experience things through their phone. But I was just like, I want to remember what this felt like from my perspective, being on stage with an entire orchestra in front of me and an entire full theater, because I knew that that might never happen again. You never know when your last show is going to be. You never know what's going to happen. And I just, for whatever reason that night, I felt like this is a thing that I want to remember this one. So moving forward, you know, that's all the good stuff that happened. And I've tried my best this year to celebrate it and let it sink in. And moving forward, I had an experience. I was out on the road this year with a band, Remedy Drive. And one of the shows we played was in this town that my buddy, Bryce, he's started several coffee shops. And one of the things that I had the privilege of doing this year is on the road, I got to physically see one of his coffee shops in person. I've seen it on Instagram and I've followed the whole story and I've talked to him about the ups and downs of doing it, but I've never actually stepped foot in one of his coffee shops. And this year I walked into one of his coffee shops and I looked around and I was just absolutely floored at what he's done. And after kind of letting that soak in, the next thought I had was like, man, I've never, ever believed in myself this much. Over the years, since I was 10, I've like pretty much only practiced drums and that's all I've focused on. So I've put a lot of like sweat equity into drumming. But as far as invested money or just like having a real vision, I've never believed in myself enough to like turn down an amazing job that would be super cushy and great and just go like risk it all to build a coffee shop somewhere that, you know, I'm just going to move to. And what it's kind of shaken me up to do is dream a little bit bigger. Like I never thought I'd play on a song that'd be nominated for a Latin Grammy. You know, maybe when it's all quiet and still in the back of my mind, I think that'd be cool, but I never want to say out loud that that's one of my goals, because then what if it doesn't happen? And with Bryce, it's like, if you go up and start that coffee shop and it fails, like everyone's going to know you're a failure. And I think for me, like I'm just at a point where who cares? Moving into 2023, I'm totally redoing this studio. I'm taking out all the carpet. I'm putting in hardwood floor. I'm redoing all the panels. I'm gonna make it look nice. I'm gonna make it really, when you walk in here, it's gonna feel like a real studio, or at least that's my goal. And that's because I don't care if I fail at it. Like I don't care if I do it all. I sink a bunch of money into it. And again, I'm doing a lot of myself. I'm gonna do smart. I'm not gonna just blow a bunch of money, but I wanna do it and be okay with the fact that like, yeah, it might not turn out like I think it will, but who cares? I want to show myself that I believe in what I'm doing, because there's evidence that it's all going good, and putting more effort, putting more belief behind it should just make it that much better. And, over the years, I've told myself like, well, I don't really have a studio. Like I do drum overdubs sometimes, but whatever. But now at this point, like there's just, there's a part in Mad Men where Don Draper does this interview, and, he kind of is trying to be really modest, but it just kind of comes across as he's trying to be like self-deprecating to like, or like elusive to maintain like some kind of mystery about him. Like he just does this interview after having all this success, and it comes across as he's trying to like downplay his success, and it comes across really smug. And Roger Sterling tells him, you got to go get a new interview. You got to redo it, because after the year you've had, there's just no reason to be humble about it. Something more or less like that.
No one who's ever been associated with an actual event has thought it's been portrayed honestly in the newspaper. Donald Draper, or Don as he is known, perhaps in an attempt to appear humble, is a handsome cipher. One imagines somewhere in an attic, there's a painting of him that's rapidly aging.
For a guy from Ad Age, you can really write.
He also says you're married.
Jesus. He never asked me that. Did he check any facts?
You didn't give him any facts.
They raise you up and they knock you down. I don't know what I could have done differently.
I believe you were being modest, but he didn't. I'm sorry, but after the year you've had, it's just not appropriate anymore.
I don't necessarily think it's a 1-to-1 ratio for me, but it's like I play on a bunch of songs that, get heard by millions of people all over the world. Why wouldn't I? Why would I feel uncomfortable saying like, yeah, I own a studio and I record drums in it? Of course I do, but it's still, I guess maybe the thesis of this whole episode, this whole video is, no matter what happens, no matter what goals you set, if you hit them, if you're lucky enough to hit them, by the time you hit those goals, you got new goals. So, 5 minutes after I found out I was nominated for a Latin Grammy, I was going, but I want to be on stage accepting a Grammy on television one day. And it's like, if you never acknowledge and slow down and realize that like you're in it and you're doing it, and that you've hit some of your goals and you've missed some of your goals, or you hit the goals, but they didn't look like you thought. Like if you never take time to acknowledge that that's what's happening, then you'll end up at the end of your life not realizing that like it was all happening. And this is like something that a bunch of people have said, but it's like, why do I only realize like, well, like, why can't you realize the good times when you're in them? There's some Office quote that's goofy, like Andy says that at some point in The Office. But it's true. It's like no goal that you hit is ever going to feel exactly like you thought it would. And when you experience that feeling of like hitting the thing, but it not feeling like you thought it would, then you quickly tell yourself like, well, then it's not the thing. So now I got to go get some other thing, and that will be the thing. So if it's not the nomination for the Latin Grammy, it's winning the Latin Grammy. If it's not winning the Latin Grammy or nominated for it, it's winning a real Grammy on stage. If it's, just keep going. If you have a sales number for, I made this sample pack and I want to sell it and I want to hit this number, you hit that number, but it wasn't as easy or it wasn't in the time frame you gave yourself. So now you got to do another sample pack. There's always going to be more markers and things to chase and all of that stuff. But I guess what I'm saying is take a second to realize that, having goals is good, but also, believing in yourself and experiencing life as it's actually happening instead of always be looking to the next thing is something at least I'm going to do in 2023. I'll close this the same way I opened it. If you supported anything that I do, you watched a video, you listened to a podcast, you followed me on Instagram, you bought a course, you bought a lesson, you hired me to play on your song, like whatever it was, if you supported me in any way, I honestly cannot, there are no words to thank you for the support, because you allow me to live a life that I'm just so lucky to have. And this is the anecdote I'll leave you on. I was talking to someone recently and he was like, man, I'm halfway through my 30s and I feel like just me and everyone I know, it's like I just don't know what I'm supposed to do in life. I don't know what job I'm supposed to get. Like, you know what I mean? And I was able to, in that moment, realize how lucky I am that I've known what I've wanted to do since I was 10 and I'm doing it now. And there's so few people on planet Earth that get to experience that. And you all allow me the privilege of doing that. And I just can't thank you enough. So thank you.